I'm Councillor Paul Harris, and I'm here this morning to go on the annual bike parade that's been organized by citizens again this year. It's going to be a great opportunity for us to try out the new bike lanes and see how that works, and then we're going to all wind up at the farmers market later. This bike lane pilot project was approved by council in last year, actually 2 years ago, as part of the strategy for the integrated movement study that looks at the way we get around in our community, and that includes cycling, walking, transit, and driving. And so this is actually part of that. There's 20 kilometers of bike lanes that have been installed over this last short little while, and the pilot project will look at how those bike lanes are working and make changes and tweaks to them, alterations as this next year goes on. And then at the end we'll be able to evaluate the success of the bike lanes and see where improvements could be made, and perhaps, if they're just not interested, people aren't interested, then we'll have to take them out. But I think what will happen, as I've talked to councillors from other cities that have instituted bike lanes, that we're not building bike lanes for the bikers of today, we're building bike lanes for tomorrow and the next year. And it's interesting the number of people that have come up to me to tell me that they're off to buy a bike or that they'll be biking in the spring. So I think that's really important. I imagine what the future will be like in 15 years or in 10 years or 5 years, when the city has an active bike transportation system and people really value those bike lanes. It's going to be quite different than what we have today.
I'm Meridu. I'm with the Red Deer Association for Bicycle Commuting, and we are at today's Bicycle Parade. It's the 4th annual parade, and today we're here to celebrate the increasing safety and freedom associated with bicycle commuting and culture here in Red Deer. The lanes that you see behind me here on 39th Street and the network of bike lanes has been a couple of years in the making, actually. Last year even there was a pilot project in certain areas of the city where they just sort of tested out the connectivity and the feasibility of putting them in on wider roads. And this year actually the project has expanded now to include full east-west connections. They looked at best practices all throughout Canada and other places that have adopted bike lanes. They also went within a budget as well. They couldn't retrofit roads to add lanes to them to accommodate bike lanes. And this project also looked at the needs of bicycle commuters as well as traffic studies. They did some initial traffic counts that identified roads that aside from school use times were relatively lightly used. So they've made all kinds of traffic accommodations like turn lanes and signal changes and stuff to like traffic light changes to accommodate the needs of drivers as well on these bike lanes.
Top of the morning. Watson, and I am an enthusiastic cyclist. I think that cycling has a number of benefits, including of course the health benefits, but also in terms of commuting. I think we all know that it's inevitable that we're going to run out of space on the roads if we all drive around in single occupant vehicles. I have been involved for a time in the steering committee that put together the bike pilot project, the commuter cycling pilot project, and I haven't been actively involved for a number of months, but nonetheless I can tell the viewer that there's been a lot of work that's gone into the project. Certainly not everyone's going to be happy with the results, but it is a pilot project and the intention is to learn from any mistakes, tweak the system, find a way to get people around that works for everybody. And I commend the city on the amount of work and resources that's gone into that project. I know that that work will continue, but it's been a very impressive undertaking.
Hi there, my name is Mike Kozlowski. I run Steel Pony Farm in Red Deer, and it's a vegetable operation where we transport our vegetables from our place in West Park down to the market every Wednesday by bicycle and trailer. So we rely on bikes a lot, and we're shipping goods in the city with bicycles. So for the last about 10 years, I've cycled throughout the winter, and my girlfriend, she also does the same thing. And I guess that I find that these bike lanes are important because, they're proving to everybody that we can do this really. Like in the winter especially, it's hard because there's sometimes snow built up on the side of the road and there's big trucks and the roads become more and more narrow. And so these bike lanes, if they can give us a little bit more space in the winter especially, I think it'll make a really big difference. Bike riding in the city is important to me for a number of reasons. A really important reason I think is just sustainability. Can we decrease the amount of fuel that we're burning per person in the city? Can we decrease the congestion in the streets? So sustainability is a big one for me, but another really important thing in my opinion, is just the community building that comes from having more people on the streets that aren't insulated by these big boxes of steel. And when you're out there on the streets and you can see other people, you can start to have conversation at stoplights. You can stop your bike and talk to friends that you see. It becomes this way to really interact more in the city. And I think that's what's most important to me, is moving from this culture of insulation and individuality to a culture where it's okay to start interacting with people and building community. So I really appreciate that, and that's been the most important thing for me as a cyclist in the city.
Morris Fluelling, just wanting to comment on the bike trails. I think that we need to look upon this as a bold experiment in our community. We're on a 2-year pilot project, and I'm quite sure we're not going to get everything right the first time, but as we work on it and refine it, I'm sure that we'll move ahead and become a much more bike accommodating city. That as time goes on, vehicle traffic, particularly single person passenger vehicle traffic, is going to decrease. And for the 30% of people who don't drive vehicles, we need to have a good alternate transportation system. Part of that is the transit system, part of that are the bike trails, part of that are the bike lanes and the bike routes. And so that is going to be an increasing part of our transportation makeup as we go argument as well for the bikes. When we redid the intersection at 32nd Street and Gates Avenue, that cost around $15 million. The one that we're currently working on at 32nd Street and 40th Avenue is about $8.5 million. The whole bike lane project, start to finish, including all the design and everything, is less than $800,000.
You all, that this project is about vision for this community. It's about how we're going to change this community to have a better quality of life for everybody. You're leaders in this community. By coming out to support this, you're showing the community the way. This is going to help us with our financial sustainability. It's going to help us with health. It's going to help us with environment. And we work together as a community to solve really complex problems. This is one of them. I want you all to just buck up if there's any kind of stuff that's spinning around you about what we're doing here. Be supportive of one another. Make sure you always take the high road, because the views are always much better there. And speak to one another in a positive manner. Always be kind. Remember to be honest, but always remember to be kind in that. So remember, this is a project, and in 5 years from now, this community could look completely different than it does now, and it's going to be better for everybody. And you're the ones that are leading this way. So thank you very much for coming, and let's make this a great parade today.